I'm
All right,
going
we're live.
fishing.
What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast, and we're excited about tonight's episode because we've got we've had somebody in the kayak industry before, but we've got one of the biggest names in the kayak industries actually here on the podcast, and here in just a second, uh, hopefully he's going to be able to catch a fish because he's actually out on the lake right now, actually trying to get one on here, and he'll be the first person that we've ever had on the podcast to catch a fish while doing the podcast. But guys, if you don't know, I'm Colin Burnett.
That's right, Colin, and I am Norman Lee. You know what? But first, we're going to talk about the sponsor for tonight's episode. This episode is brought to you by this episode of the Deck Talk Podcast is brought to you by Spirit Point Performance Hooks. Hooks proven and tested to put more fish in your boat using their V-grip technology. Spirit Point hooks will perfectly present lures and provide the most secure connection between hook and fish, giving you the ability to help prevent fish from shaking off. Spear Point hooks are designed to perform and trusted by anglers across the world. See what the buzz is about? Get your Spear Point performance hooks today. Go to www.spearpointhooks.com and use our discount code DECKTALK10. Don't forget, spearpointhooks.com. Don't forget, use our discount code DECKTALK10. That's right, Colin. We have one heck of a show tonight, and we're just going to get right into this and introduce this cool cat because he is one of the living legends, and I do mean legends in the world of kayak fishing. Okay, here we go. Let's give this man the proper introduction he so well deserves. Our guest tonight is a legend in the world of kayak fishing. After 20 years of active duty in the Navy, allowed him the opportunity to hunt and fish many places around the globe. In 2009, he authored and wrote Kayak Bass Fishing, and in 2013, he hosted the first kayak fishing open on Santee Cooper, and just 3 years later, created the first kayak bass fishing national championship. 2018 seen a significant milestone as the KBF National Championship became the first kayak fishing event with a first place payout. Get this, guys, of $100,000. He was the driving force behind of what kayak tournament anglers know today as catch, photo, and release. The host of the popular TV series Kayak Bassin Television, seen seen him recognized and awarded the American Outdoor Sportsman of the Year in 2019, and 2 years later in 2021 he was inducted into the Legends of the Outdoors Hall of Fame. He is the leader and pioneer of the worldwide kayak fishing movement as we know it today. The man simply known as the Guru, Mr. Chad Hoover. What's going on,
What's
man?
up, brother?
Good Lord, bro. I'm going to have to hire you as like a hype man. That was like,
Woo,
All
woo.
all right.
I, I
So,
almost made it all the way through without getting too tongue tied.
well, man,
so
if the sun's bad, let me know, but I'm trying to
you're
catch
good.
a fish on this point right here, and they're everywhere. And I've got an ultralight and a little small kind of bitsy bug crankbait, just trying to do something a little different. And we got the super moon, the harvest super moon
Yeah.
right now. So the fish are feeding at night, and they're also feeding up for fall, and they're feeding right before dark like crazy. So I'm just, figured the best way to do a podcast about fishing is to be fishing when you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What pond or lake are
Yeah.
you on right now?
I am in a little backwater off of the Tennessee River,
I got
just
you.
outside of Huntsville.
Okay.
Yeah, a little sneaky spot, one of those things,
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
man, they're in here. So what it is they dig these borrow pits, to build. bridges and overpasses and things like that. And a lot of times they're public. You know what I mean? So you just
Right.
got to kind of do
Right.
your research and figure out, the ins and outs of it. And the cool thing about a kayak is you don't have to have a boat ramp. You don't have to have, all that fancy stuff. And so I've got a paddle, a PFD, a rod, and one lure, and I'm fishing 4 pound test. And I've caught bass up to 9 pounds out of here before. So
Woo.
it'll be interesting if I hook one that big on this little ultralight. But it's fun.
Well,
I got a tournament this weekend on Gunnersville, so I figured instead of beating myself up and over pre-fishing, we just finished up with the Knucklehead Championship, the Challenge Series Championship, Trail Series Championship, and the 10. And I was kind of exhausted, so I took a couple days off and been working on my fitness thing. I've lost like 50 something pounds, and
Wow.
now
heck
I'm
yeah.
just doing a little fun fishing. And I knew we were doing the podcast tonight, and I had the damn time zone wrong because I'm that guy. And now,
It's all
now
good.
I just want to catch a fish. Has anybody ever
Uh,
caught a fish on the podcast?
no. Well, let's see. Bobby Lane's boy caught one um, towards the end of it, but then he lost it at the boat.
Okay.
Trey
So nobody's
McKinney,
landed one.
nobody's landed one. No, so you will
Gotcha.
definitely be the first to land one tonight.
How
So
long? How long do I have?
we typically go about an hour. So
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and we're just we're lock it down. If we uh, if we only had like 30 minutes, I'd straight to the hot spot. But I'm just gonna kind of ease my way along and hope for a bigger fish. But we got
heck
us
yeah,
a guaranteed fish spot right over here to the right where the wind's been blowing. So
right.
if we have to do the bottom of the ninth thing, we will. But I'm gonna try to avoid that.
Yeah, bottom of the
So
ninth,
yeah.
2 outs, and
Game
World
game
Series is on your shoulders.
game winning grand
Yeah, and
slam.
I apologize for I apologize for this weird angle, but I
No, you're
grabbed
good.
the new Yak Attack phone holder with the extension on it, and like most of us, we think it's longer than it is, and so it didn't stick up as far as I thought it would. But if I need to, I can pick up on it and like hold it out in front of me when
No,
I'm not
you're
Right.
fishing.
good. Yeah.
When I
So,
catch this fish, I'll be able to do that.
right. Um, so with you being as big into the kayak that you are, and I mean, pretty much everybody knows you from in the kayak world. Um, we have had a few kayakers come on, but can you talk to us like if somebody, because right now we have 700 people watching. Um, if there's somebody
Nice.
if there's somebody out there that's like, all right, I'd like to get into kayaking, what's the easiest way for them to be able to take that first step into getting into kayaking?
Well, and I'm not saying this just because it's self-serving, but one thing you can do is check out my YouTube channel. Not only have I covered a lot of the basic stuff over the years, but I'm really actually going back to the basics right now and doubling down on you don't have to have like all this stuff that you think we have to have. Obviously I'm very blessed and my job is to promote the latest and greatest and it's part of, my sponsorships and it's part of all that. But, I'll be real with you. Some of my best and most fun days on the water are one or two rods, a Ziploc bag or a small tackle box with some stuff in it, a paddle, a kayak, and a PFD. And the kayak I'm in right now is right at $1,000. It's the RS-117 from Bonafide. I firmly believe it's the best value in the game. There's other kayaks that are kind of around the same price that
Right.
are a lot less premium, or they're like Alibaba imported, and these things are premium. They hold their value. I'm a big dude. Like I said, I've lost about 50 pounds. I was paddling this boat when I was 340 and I'm 6'2", and I was never like, okay, I'm too big for the boat, and it's just a really comfortable boat. So what I would say is don't listen to all the rhetoric and all the YouTube videos about the top 5 things you need to kayak fish. There's 3 things you
Right.
need: your paddle, your PFD, and the kayak, and all your fishing stuff basically is whatever level you want to take it to. I've got My other kayak is on the trailer with G Loomis NRX rods and Shimano X Pride Bs and all that crap, and I'm out here with 4 pound test, an ultralight, a wood paddle, fishing out of a kayak, trying to catch a big fish. You know what I mean? So
Right.
the biggest fish I caught last year was a 10-4 on Gunnersville, and I was doing the same thing. I was in the RVR, the river boat from Bonafide. You know, a
Right.
$1,500 kayak. I didn't have a motor. I didn't have a graph. I didn't have. I had one Yak Attack track pack full of lures and 2 rods. That's it. So,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times we get wrapped around the axle that, oh, kayak fishing's getting too expensive, or kayaks are turning into little boats, or, you know, whatever. The market is evolving to what the anglers want, and that is more creature comforts, more stability, more of all of those things. But there are now more kayaks in and around $1,000 than there were when I started doing this 30 years ago. So that whole
Right.
like technological advancement thing does not price people out of the sport. It actually makes the entry level boats have more features, be more feature rich for a better price. And so to me, there's never been a better time from the standpoint of product availability, different types of kayaks, and all of that to get into the sport than there is now. You know, it really
Right.
is just a good time to get into it. You know, are saying that kayak fishing is decline. But really, what the story is that boats like the Ascend series from Bass Pro Yacht, your lifetime boats from Tractor Supply Company, and
Oh,
I had a feeling that was about to happen because
yeah.
it showed that he was. So, guys, he will be right back. Here he comes. He's
Yeah, he probably just ran through a little dead spot in the water. And
yeah.
if you're not familiar with a lot of lakes around Tennessee, we got a lot of dead
There we
spots.
go.
There he is. He's
Yeah.
back.
where did I lose y'all at?
You was talking about like the lifetime boats and stuff like that, or the
Okay,
lifetime
yeah, so I didn't lose
kayaks.
much. So yeah,
No.
so what's happened is a lot of these, better price point, lower value, lower, price point entry level companies have come in and kind of gobbled up that entry level enthusiast angler and have really made boats that are, adequate to get started. And, I know for sure that the Tracker Plastics, the Ascend line from Bass Pro Shops Cabela has been doing really well because I see a ton of them in the wild. And when I talk to anglers, they're like, it was the only boat I could find in my budget. I, I did the
Right.
Bass Pro card and was able to finance it. And so they naturally are buying into fishing kayaks and getting into kayak fishing, but your big five manufacturers don't see those sales, so they think the sport's flat. And it's like, no, guys, it's not flat.
Right.
Y'all just forgot that there's different levels of consumers and chase this super high end, you know,
Right.
$4,000 or $5,000 kayak market, which there
Right.
is, but you can't forget where it all started. You can't forget the basics. You can't forget that family that needs to buy 4 kayaks to take the
Right.
kids fishing, to take the wife. And I'm really lobbying hard with Bonafide to, to continue to make and promote this boat and to maybe even make one a little cheaper, and,
Right.
but because I think that the other thing that's happened is a lot of the, quote unquote OGs of the sports, guys in that era, when I came into it about 30 years ago, actually maybe a little over 30 now, are when they were my age when I got into it in my 20s are now in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so the pendulum's kind of swinging back in the other direction where a lot of old kayak fishermen don't want a 150-pound boat. They don't want a trailer. And, there needs to be that product on the market that satisfies that lighter weight, less feature, keep it simple fishing kayak. And to me,
Right.
that's really where I need to shift my focus. I need to shift my focus away from $100,000 payouts and all that crazy stuff, which I've done pretty substantially, and focus more on the charity, the fun, and the community building tournaments. Um,
Right.
but I've also got to just not focus on tournaments as a whole because that's really only a small percentage of the community. And
Right.
so my son and I both have really doubled down on putting a plan together to create content that is beginner friendly, intermediate friendly, and working your way up towards more advanced stuff. But again, remembering that there's a lot of people out there that are hungry for the knowledge of how to get started. And I just think that we've almost made it overcomplicated and almost deterred some people from getting into kayak fishing because they think they need a power pole and they need a motor and they need a, $4,000 worth of batteries and graphs and all this other crazy stuff when they really don't.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
So you just need a paddle, a PFD, and a kayak.
And a pole.
Speaking of that, my son is motoring up to me as we speak. What you got? Huh? Oh, he's like, you got this expensive mic on your PFD from when we were just filming, so turn it
uh,
back. All right. Hey, don't motor to my
so,
spot right there. I'm trying to catch a fish on a podcast, bro. So anyway, guys, sorry.
oh,
Nah,
you're
you're
good. You're
good.
good.
I was
Um,
gonna ask. I was gonna ask you though, Chad. With today's kayak market, of course, a lot of the kayaks you see today, they're putting trolling motors on them, and kind of the paddling of the kayak, especially like in your tournaments, is kind of going away. Do they still offer on the market today kayaks that are not equipped to put a motor on them, or is all kayaks on the market? It gives you that option of being able to put a motor or paddle.
I mean, the one I'm on now is not designed to have a motor. You could fashion a way to put a motor on it, but it's not really designed for one. And
Right.
most of them though, because the market is kind of going that direction. Um, Most manufacturers are at least considering that in the process and trying not to add too much cost to the kayak to make
Right.
it motor ready. But yeah, I think that there's quite a few. Crescent makes a bunch. Liquid Logic, like this boat from Bonafide. Jackson has a kayak called the Bite. And then probably one of the best, truly price point boats out there that's kind of got almost like a little cult following is a kayak
Right.
called the Perception Outlaw. And it's a
Right.
great little platform for the money. The problem is it's like once a product does really well like that, it's like the manufacturers have gotten greedy and like the
Yeah.
price has gone up $200 in the last year and a half, but for no reason. It's not costing them
right.
no more to manufacture it. The mold's probably 12 years old. It's paid for itself 10 times over again. So it's just one of those things where I think sometimes these people that are analyzing where the market at are missing the mark a little bit. But
Yeah.
that's a very popular boat. But no, to answer your question, there's a lot of boats designed specifically for paddling. And,
Yeah.
I for one am, I've never not paddled a lot. I know a lot of people think that fat redneck ain't paddling, but I paddle a lot, and and I surprise people when they go either hiking, biking, paddling, or whatever with me. I tell people all the time it's called fat agility. You just kind of have to overcome the fatness and just be
Uh,
active. And now I'm trying to
yeah.
drop some of that weight. So I figure if I'm pretty capable carrying extra weight, I'll be even more capable of not carrying it.
Yeah.
And
right.
but yeah, I have literally fallen in love with paddling again, and I do it a lot. Like I paddle almost to challenge myself, to a certain extent, to get away
Yeah.
from all the extra creature comforts, to get a little bit of, I don't think you get like true exercise from a kayak unless you're paddling at a high cadence and trying to, get your heart rate up. But you
Right.
are moving, you are
Yeah.
active,
Right.
you are out there, you know, doing something. And so I think that adds to your positive mental attitude. I think it adds to your to your psyche, and again, you're moving, so you are getting physical activity, which is it's exercise, even if it's not getting you, you know,
Right. Right.
you're not going to drop a
Right.
bunch of weight going out paddling low impact, but you're active. You're going to burn calories and you're going to do all that stuff. And so, yeah, I like to paddle. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. So, you brought up your YouTube channel, and which I used to have kayaks until I got my new boat, and once I got my new boat, the kayak just sat behind the house. But and then I
You'll come
got
back
rid
on
of them. Yeah,
that.
sometimes I wish I still had them though, to be honest with you. But I enjoy watching your YouTube channel, even though I'm not in a kayak anymore, because it's still what you show and what you teach on your
Yes.
YouTube channel is good for even boaters, even guys that are fishing from the bank and stuff like that. Like one of my favorite things that you done a couple years ago was actually, I don't know if it was about this time, maybe a little bit later, in the like in the fall to winter time, to where you said like now is the perfect time to like just go out and fish and kind of, but like if when you see these like creeks and stuff that's coming in that you typically would not be able to see
Yep.
with the full like summer pool, now you're able to see them and stuff like that, and to be able to mark them on your units or mark them however way you're going to mark them, to where
Yes, sir.
summertime comes, you know they're going to end up using them creeks going back in,
Yeah, and
and
not only
that
that, that's actually one of the things I'm doing right now is if I see, the water's down about 5 feet. And so if I see a
right,
stump that I know is going to be in 2 or 3 feet of water, I'll get out of the kayak, walk and stand on it and mark a waypoint and then transfer that to my GPS, on
Right.
my graph. And, sometimes you could just take a picture of it, put a waypoint on your phone, and then triangulating off of like, oh, it's in line with that tree over there and that tower over there. You can do a lot of scouting in the wintertime that pays you massive dividends when the water starts to come back up in the spring and summer. And
right,
it's a little sneaky way to find stuff that even folks with some of the most advanced electronics can't really find because you know it's it's hard to find it on side scan or forward scan when it's only in a couple feet of water. But when you go out there when the water's drawn down and it's all exposed, it's easy to find those little spots between the spots. So yeah,
Right.
I'm actually
right.
doing what you just said right now. So I appreciate you bringing
Yeah.
that up.
Now, Chad, me being a bass boater, and quite honestly, I've actually never fished out of a kayak. But me being a bass boater, yeah, I kind of consider myself a pretty accurate caster. How And we're sitting here watching you being able to cast from your kayak. How difficult, or how much more difficult is it sitting kind of right at the water line low in a kayak? How much more difficult is it to be an accurate caster, or to be able to pinpoint your cast from where your position is versus myself standing up on a deck all day? I could imagine it's probably a lot more difficult than standing up, and having a higher vantage point at what you're throwing at.
I'll be honest with you. I might be biased because I've been doing it for so long. I am also a person who was left-handed growing up in a right-handed world. So I pretty much had to be kind of ambidextrous growing up. And
Right.
so when I got into fishing, I would cast like, overhand, backhand, and forehand with both hands. So I can skip a bait with both hands. I can make overhand cast with both hands. I can sidearm with both hands. And so for me, I actually think the kayak is an advantage for casting because
I
I'm
got you.
down low. So when it comes to skipping, I can get it
Oh, you're
back
right
up
there.
under
Yeah,
there
Yeah.
way further. I also feel like you can stand in a kayak. So even though you're losing the height of the deck of the boat, you still have the ability to stand in most fishing kayaks. Not all kayaks, but all fishing kayaks you can stand
Right.
in. And so you've got the benefit and the best of both worlds there.
I
And
got
so
you.
to me, I honestly think that fishing from a kayak will actually make you a better caster because you have to get better at loading the rod and using the rod to cast the lure and following the lure to the target instead of just what I call slinging the lure and not
Right.
adequately using the benefits of the rod, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
I
right.
think
Oh yeah.
after a few years of kayak fishing, once you get used to not catching stuff on your back cast, and once you get used to side arming when you have to, doing an open hand cast when you need to, a backhand cast when you need to, I think it makes you a better caster when it's all said and done. And then when
I
you
got
do
you.
go to a bass boat, you feel like you're cheating almost. You're like, man, this is awesome. I can, you know.
I got you.
So yeah,
So
I actually don't see it as a hindrance at all. I think it's somewhat of a benefit, you know.
Right, right,
right,
right, right.
right.
I'm
Now,
gonna ease over here and see if I can't snatch us a 6 pounder real quick.
that'd be awesome. So, um, you do a thing like a little tournament deal with a couple of my buddies, and with Gene and Alex Rudd,
Yep.
and I actually thought that was a pretty cool little deal. To where what was it? They picked like there was teams and stuff that each one of y'all had a team, correct? And then the winners of y'all's team or whatever faced off against the other teams. Am I correct?
So I'll tell you how it works. We end up with we designate a captain who's some type of influencer or content creator, something like that, and then we run 4 monthly online tournaments, and the winner of each month becomes a member of that captain's team. So then everybody converged in Alabama, and we fished Lake Gunnersville, and it was the best fish from each person on the team for a 5 fish limit. So the captain had to put up a fish, and each of the competitors had to put up a fish, and it was
Oh,
whoever had the
nice.
best 5 fish limit. Now, I actually just got off the phone with a couple of the captains before I got on with you guys, and what we're going to do next year is we're going to make it a 10-person team. So it's going to be 4 months, two anglers per month, the top two in each month, plus the captain. The captain's going to be able to pick one wild card the whole season to round out their team. So we're going to do it again next year, but it's going to be a 10-person team, the best 10 fish over 2 days each. So the best 20 fish, 10 fish per day, but it's the best fish each member of the team contributes. Does that make sense?
Right.
Right, right.
Oh yeah, right, right.
So
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
also
So
going
I
to be
like that
on?
concept too.
Yeah, that I thought it was.
What's that?
I thought it was very interesting, especially with talking or and having to Gene, or if y'all don't know who Gene Jensen is, it's Fluke Master on YouTube, or he just goes by Fluke Master. You call him that, he'll answer. But and then Alex Rudd,
Right.
which he is the bearded wonder is what I call him. So, but they
Yeah.
just talking to them though, Chad was it seemed like they really enjoyed that concept of that kind of tournament.
Yeah. I think everybody enjoyed it, man. Last year was the first year, and we kind of worked out some of the kinks, and we kind of dialed it in a little bit. And this year we had more of a social aspect to it where all the captains and all the team members met. We booked out a little brewery here in Huntsville and made a social event out of it, and it was a good time. And then there was a lot of smack talking, plus a lot of camaraderie. And we did a 2 day tournament. Last year was a 1 day tournament, so it was like at the end of day one we did a little smack talking, and then during the day two thing the leaderboard was like changing every few minutes. And so it was a really good time. And that's what I was talking about. I'm transitioning more to those type of fun and promotional kind of every
Right,
angler events instead of just the trying to pay out $100,000. But
right,
yeah, dude, it was a fun event. It's between that and the Catch 22 series that we do for charity. It's my favorite series. It really is a good time. It's fun. It gets new people into the tournament scene, and it's not as much pressure as say like a national championship or something. You know,
right.
something to that
Right,
effect.
right.
Now, so like when you're in a kayak and you come up to like matted grass, um, is it hard to be able like when you get a decent fish on and you're bringing them back through that grass? Is it hard to be able to get them out of the matted grass as quick as you want to be able to, or is it
No, I think
if you
it's kind of like what I was saying about casting. I actually think it's easier because
right
one, I can pull the fish to me, but I can pull me to the fish, and I'm
right
Right,
lower to the water. So instead of having to lift a fish and 12 pounds of vegetation out of the
Correct.
water. I
Right.
can just, reach down and grab it by the jaw. And plus, like I was talking about with that boat that's designed for the river, it's got a little flat spot on the bottom. It slides up over the vegetation easier than anything else. So when everybody else is punching like the outside edge, I can punch, 30 yards back into a flat. And
Yeah.
I go there in the wintertime and mark all the stumps. And then I go back in there and just paddle from spot to spot. So I'm kind of high percentage fishing when everybody else is lottery fishing,
Right,
So
right,
I
right,
Right.
really like I really like the kayak for fishing vegetation. Like that's honestly that's my favorite way of fishing.
right.
So, um, another thing I do want to hit on, and it's off the fishing and kayaking thing. I do want to say thank you for your service of what 20 years in the
Yes,
Navy and
yes,
retired
Yes,
yes,
in the
sir.
service.
Yes, sir.
Um, so I want we Deck Talk. We do a lot with the military and stuff and helping out, like with trying to get them out on the water and stuff. But it's a dear place in my heart.
yeah,
Uh, my oldest brother retired from the Navy after 24 years, and then my grandfather was in the Army Air Force during World War II, and then my dad was
yes,
in the Army uh, here long time ago.
yeah,
But
Nice.
I did want to make sure that we tell you thank you for your time and service uh,
Man, I
because
appreciate that. And my new mission is serving those who served, and I should have done it all alone, but I got away from it for 6 or 8 years. Kind of had to go through a tough divorce and go through some mental health issues, and kind of found myself again, if that makes sense. And now
right,
the most rewarding thing I do is taking guys out that have served, and whether they've walked away with a physical visit. It's awesome to just see that light come back home and to nurture that. So yeah, I
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
I appreciate y'all, and thank you for helping veterans as much as you can.
yeah,
I've started working really hard on the category that I call Homeland Heroes as well, because man, there's a lot of folks that police, EMTs, fire, first responders, nurses, and doctors that are they're right there on the front lines just like we are,
yeah,
right,
but just at home. I mean,
yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah. And we have a buddy of ours that's down in the Everglades, Captain Neil Stark, a fellow guide friend of mine, friend of Collins, that actually his guide service is centered around taking uh, veterans, wounded warriors, stuff like that. But his guide service is fishing with America's finest, and he does a
that's awesome.
whole lot. Yeah, he does a whole lot of good for veterans, wounded warriors, stuff like that. So also, as we're on the subject, shout out to Neil Stark for what he does also for that.
Yeah,
Using his platform and his guide service as relief in a lot of cases for a lot of the guys with that battle with everyday struggles of combat and stuff like that. When they're retired.
And these fish must be camera shy because I got fish all around me. I just can't get the dang things to focus. Literally, they're like
so
blowing bait out of the water, boiling around me. They're like, I'm not getting on camera. What are you talking about? So we're
that's
gonna make it
usually what
happen.
happens when I get my GoPro out.
Yeah, that's
So
my life. Filming TV and YouTube. This was my last year on TV, and I'm focusing 100% on digital creation for
Yeah.
Real Treat 365. Instagram, Facebook. I'm about to go after TikTok just because I think there's a good audience of younger folks that I need to reach there. And, I feel like it's worth the little bit of extra effort that it'll take me. And I like the fact that instead of TV where you do the stuff and it could be several months before it comes out, what I like about digital content is you can create it, you can real time, and it's you're getting it out there to people when they can use it.
Right. Right. Right.
exactly,
So
exactly.
I finished up my last season on TV in June, end of June, And I told them, thank you for your time, but I'm going to invest that money in digital and focus on connecting directly with people instead of, you know, being on in a bar while people are watching football and I come on, every third Tuesday or some shit like that. So,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'm making a significant transition and pivot in that.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I tell you
What's the
what.
weather like where you guys are?
Right now, it's
um,
nice.
right now, let's see. It's 63 degrees here in Chattanooga.
Gotcha. Okay, we're pretty close to the same weather. It was 74 when I got out here putting on shorts like a dummy, and now it's starting to kind of getting a little nipply.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was 40 degrees this morning when I got up, walked out on the porch, looked at the thermometer, and but
Yeah,
yeah,
we've
it's
been
starting to get.
camping. We've been camping, and I had the iPhone thermometer uh, showing the local. It was 32, 33 this morning.
Yeah,
Whew, that's chilly.
I had 35 minutes to the alarm.
he's probably just going through a dead spot right now.
Yeah, there he goes.
Can
So,
you hear me now? I can hear you guys. Can you hear me
yeah,
now?
yeah, we can. So, when I've got a question because we go to ICAST every year and then we end up going down to the Everglades. We're fishing out of a boat,
Yes, sir.
but we've seen some kayakers down in the canals in the Everglades. And
Oh yeah.
I I told Norman, I was like, them guys got some big old kahunas because there's some 8, 9 footers that are alligators that's down there that's at eye level with them. Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah. Not only that, I mean, I grew up in the South, so I've been around gators my whole. I'm originally from Louisiana, so we had
Ah.
to take a stick and poke gators off the driveway to walk to the bus stop. So gators don't bother me. I've been all over. We do the Everglades thing as well. I like to do it more in the wintertime, going down there catching, you know, everything under the sun. Peacock bass, cichlids, largemouth, snook, the whole nine.
Right.
And we've got a couple places down there where we fish right under the bridge. And it's kind of like a place where really boats can't get up under there because it's too shallow and it's too tight. And then right on the other side of the berm where they built the bridge up, it actually gets deep again behind it, right? Because the bridge is like on a little
Right,
levee. And
Right.
those little pockets back there behind the bridge are so freaking juicy
right.
um, for especially for peacock bass. And yeah, so I love doing that. But like I live in Alabama now, we're right at the northern range of the American alligator. When I go to Wheeler National Wildlife Refuge, I'm fishing with them. I did a YouTube video one time where I had a gator close to me and I flipped a frog onto its forehead, and I'm like going along behind it, holding the rod up, saying that I'm taking the gator for a walk, and I've caught them. I fished with a UFC guy named Clay Guida, and he caught
Oh
a
yeah.
gator and didn't want to get it off the hook, so I got it off the hook for him. My ex-wife did the same thing, and then I've caught them pretty big, as well. And then I've even bow fished from the kayak for gators with a buddy of mine
Wow.
who's a country singer named Easton Corbin. And
Oh
then
yeah.
after we did it, his label wouldn't let us release the footage because they didn't want it to come across as inhumane or whatever.
Oh.
So but yeah, I'm not worried about gators. When I go to Sandy Cooper, South Carolina, which is where some of the biggest gators in the dang world
Oh
live,
yeah, oh yeah.
I'll paddle 15, 20 feet from them. Um, when they're mating and they've got babies, I'm not going to say you have a lot to worry about.
There we
Oh,
go.
look at that, boys.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Got a bent rod here. Let me see if I can. I don't know how big it is. It's not real big, but let me at least.
Well, if you
Let
put
me
them in
let
the
you guys
boat,
see it.
if you
Let me
put them
guys.
in the
Let me let
boat,
you. Let me let y'all see it when I see it. So here we go. Can
you
y'all
got to
see
put
that?
them in the you got to
Yep.
put them in the gunnel for the first fish
Oh,
caught
it's a
on
dang
the deck.
on. Look at that. It's a white
Uh,
bass.
well,
White
heck yeah,
bass.
Look at that.
yeah. There you go.
Well, let me grab this little dude and I'll get him on the cameras right there. Oh shoot, buddy, calm down, bro. He wanted that thing. Look at that.
Oh, he
Man,
choked that sucker.
he engulfed
Choked that
it.
joke. And he said, "That's mine, son." And
There you go.
man, these things make great little grilled fillets with a little, Tony Chasseray seasoning on them. And if
Yeah.
I had brought a little stringer or something, this joker wouldn't be going catch, photo, release. He'd be going release
Catch
Frying
in the
pan.
old
filet
grill.
cooking.
Yes,
Catching a
sir.
fillet.
Well, I think I still could probably get a largemouth on this thing if we got a little bit more time. But yeah. Oh, dude, they're
Yeah.
blowing up right behind me again. Golly, he got it down in there, son. And of course, my dummy butt left my pliers on my other kayak. So I'm gonna try to get this try to get this dude out of there while we
Try,
talk.
try not to be the first angler to catch a fish on the podcast and the first angler to get a hook in his finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
We,
get it out.
we've already
I'm the string
we've
release
already
guy.
done videos. Right. We've already done videos of how to get a hook out of you. So
Oh yeah,
we don't need another one.
yeah. One of my most viewed videos is when I did the hook release thing where I shaved a spot on my leg and hooked myself to show how to do it back in the
Right.
day, probably
Oh man.
20 years ago. Good God, dude! I'm gonna put this guy back in the water for a minute. Anyway, I'll get that hook out in just a second. He wanted it, son. He got that back treble like dang near down his throat.
It's hard enough to
Oh
get
my
a
goodness.
single worm hook out, but when you got three or two sets of treble hooks down, that makes it difficult.
Yeah, man. Well, we did it. We caught a fish on the thing.
Caught a
I
There
actually
you
fish.
just
go.
when I went to release him, my dang old line cutter right there just cut the line. So I'm gonna wait until he swims back up. And I'm gonna get my lure back. But yeah. So now I'm out of business.
Oh,
We'll
oh
paddle back
man.
to the ramp while we chat. So well, it was fun. But like right over here behind me, they're actually blowing up over there because this this pocket interacts with the river when the water comes up, and there's
Right.
wads of shad and crappie, and every now and then some white bass get in here. I did catch about a 14-pound striper in here one time. And it's only about a little 20-acre little, like I said, a little back shoot thing. There's a
Right,
culvert,
right,
and you can get a bigger boat in here. It's just a lot more work, so I like to take this little grab and go thing and
right,
just
right.
jump over in here and have some fun. But well, at least I got a fish. I got to show it
Oh
to you
yeah.
guys. You know, mission accomplished.
A fish is
Mission
a fish,
accomplished.
and it's a bend in the rod. So that's
Yes, sir. And of course, now I'm going to have to paddle back through waking fish everywhere with no lure because I was doing the one rod, one lure. Dude, this thing right here, this line cutter, it's like one of the
yeah,
best deals going. Like if you're a kayak fisherman, having it on your PFD when you need to cut a line, you can just go like that. And sometimes inadvertently, like I just did, you release the fish because you released the line. But it's a
Right.
hands-free little line cutter thing. It is ideal for everything. And like I'm not sponsored by them and endorsed, or any of that stuff. But I've been friends with the guy Vance, who is like the founder since like before he went on Shark Tank, and then he's just done a really good job. And for you guys that fish out of a bass boat, they make the surface ones that just stick, so you can just take your line
Right.
and just run through it. So if you haven't checked out line cutters, check them out. So they'll cut your line
yeah.
when you want to, and even when you don't want to. you know,
No, is that the name of them, line cutters?
yeah, line cutters, and it's like CUTTRZ. When you
I
go to
got
Yeah.
you.
ICAST and they have that big party called the Angler Fest, they're the ones
Yeah.
that
Right.
started it. Yeah, that's the founders of the Angler Fest party.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, man.
So, when when did you realize that you really enjoyed the kayak and or like let's go like this. Like, when did you decide that you wanted to start kayak fishing?
So I was in Corpus Christi, Texas, in the Navy. It was like my second or third tour, and I had gone to shore duty, and I was going to start working on going to college. I didn't want to be in debt, so I started guiding fishing trips, kind of on the side. And I was guiding a trip up the beach with fly fishing, and saw a guy who was paddling shark baits out to shark
Right.
fish. And the clients that I had were a couple of Asian gentlemen, and I explained to the one guy who interpreted for the other guy that this guy was shark fishing, and he said, "Hey, can we stay and see if he catches anything?" And I was like, "Sure." So the guy paddles back in, and he drags this little kayak up on the bank, ties a rope to the bumper, and when his rod goes off, he jumps in the Jeep, takes off driving with the rod and a rod holder on a captain's chair that's welded to the freaking hitch of this Jeep. He catches up with the shark, jumps out, jumps in the captain's seat, starts fighting it some more. And so, I kind of commented on his fishing kayak, and we exchanged, or his kayak, and we exchanged information. I was like, man, that'd be awesome for getting to some skinny water redfish and things like that. And about 2 weeks later, he called me. He's like, hey man, I got that kayak for sale if you want it. And I said, dude, I don't have any money. Oh man, I've only got like $100. He's like, I'll take it. I was like, I don't mean I got like $100 to spend. I mean like I only got $100. And he's like, dude, just come over. We'll work something out. So I go by the ATM, and of course I had $100, which means I can only pull out 80. So I go to
Right.
his house, and I'm like, look, man, I actually got 100, but I can only pull out 80 out of the ATM. He's like, I'll take it. You can just owe me 20. I was like, good God, bro. So he gives me
He
this
wanted it
ocean
gone.
kayak frenzy. He gives me this ocean kayak frenzy, a PFD, and a paddle, and then he says, oh, and by the way, here's a pin 40 boat rod. If you could sell this, give me half the money. I was like, all right. So I go to the pawn shop on the way home, and I walked in there and I sold that reel and rod for like 120 bucks. Drove back to his house, gave him the $60, the 20 for paying off the kayak, and then I started fishing out of it. And growing up, I fished around P-Rose and John boats and paddlecraft like that. So I was just kind of naturally loved the paddle craft
Right.
concept. And I liked getting back into places that like even um, boats couldn't go, even like the shallow mud boats that duck hunters use. And a big part of that is when I was growing up, I really liked to teal hunt. I really liked to, but my favorite was wood duck hunting. And so I liked getting into the places where you couldn't get a boat where wood ducks were, and I would make a little makeshift blind out of these pirogues and just almost like a lay down floating blind, if you will.
Right.
So when the kayak thing happened, the light bulb went off immediately, and I just started fishing from it. At first, I would use it in conjunction with my flats boat, and opposite of you guys, I had the fishing kayak and I had a boat, and I used to change my lower unit oil on my birthday, so I'd always remember when to change it. And after I started fishing out of kayak and doing really well, I remember I went out to change the oil on my lower unit, and the oil and the grease gun was still sitting there from the year before when I had done it, and the boat hadn't been out of the driveway. I put that joker up for sale, sold it, and haven't owned a boat since. I'm not against boats. I think the best boat is somebody else's boat that wants to take you fishing, So,
Right.
um, but yeah, I got into it literally by chance, meeting a guy who was shark fishing, using the kayak to paddle it out, and then I got into it and was like, these could be better. And I was an aeronautical engineering student at Embry-Riddle at the time, and I just started reaching out to companies. I can help you make these kayaks better. The cockpit sucks. Here's some things you need to do. And they all thought I was crazy for about 2 years, and I finally got through to somebody, showed them what I could do in the design world, and ever since then, there's been little things that are part of every fishing kayak now that it was either my idea or I was part of the development, and so I'm
That's
really proud
awesome.
of that when I see that happen. But really, what it was is just taking aviation principles of like your things need to be able to adjust for different arm lengths, and your seat needs to
Right.
be able to adjust. And why are we sitting with our legs straight out in front of us when we could have a drop? And
Right.
just using some of the technology that I was exposed to by going to school for aeronautics, and then saying to kayak companies, let's apply these principles to make the kayaks perform better, more comfortable, more versatile, and obviously sell better. And
Right.
that's been my passion from the beginning, and it still is. I love working with the design side of the game. I love an idea that becomes a product that then becomes a prototype that then we tweak,
Right.
and then you see it come to market and you see people get excited about it. I even see when people hate on it. I really love it. I love, like, when we released the XTR 130 at ICAST. I'll be honest with you. I kind of used some creative camera angles to make it look bigger than it was, and I wanted all the internet experts to come out and talk about it, how it's too big, even though they had never set their ass in it a single second. And then when it does come out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it must be nice, but if you can't paddle it, it's not a kayak." I'm like, "Well, I can paddle it." And actually, nobody ever said it was a kayak. We said it was a fishing kayak. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Right.
know how there's shoes, there's hiking shoes, biking shoes, running shoes,
Exactly.
climbing, all that. Well, this is not a kayak. You're not going to see my fat ass wearing a skirt and a helmet and a nose plug. I'm not that kind of kayaker. This is not a kayak. It is a fishing kayak. It was a
Exactly.
kayak that we designed for fishing, you know? And so, yeah, it's a different category, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so that's one thing that that I enjoy, like going to iCast and iCast on the water and stuff, is being able to get into the kayaks and being able to, and all the different products and stuff that they have on the water. Um, that you can just hop in one and just paddle around in that little. I mean, it's a pretty decent sized pond, but and be able to get a feel to be like, yeah, this one works for me, this one doesn't work, um, and do. But is there like shops and stuff that will do like on the day where you can come and like try kayaks and stuff out?
Yeah. There's quite a few. There's one called Action Water Sports down in Auburndale, Florida, which is, about mid state on the East Coast. There's a really great shop called Westbrook Supply in Atlanta that does it. Dugout, tackle, and kayak shop out of it, also in Atlanta, like,
Yeah,
right on the other side of Atlanta
Marietta,
from,
right?
yeah, on the other side from Westbrook. And then, there's a few more kind of scattered across the country, a couple of really good ones. Next Adventure, OEX out in California, or actually Next Adventures is further up north in the Pacific Northwest, but OEX in California. And then, Echo Fishing Shop in Missouri are all great shops. And then, honestly, since we're on here, I'm actually laying the groundwork and putting the foundation together to open up a shop myself here in Huntsville, because I used to own a
Nice.
shop called Hook One up in Nashville. Sold it about 6 years ago. Kind of swore I would never get back into retail, but I just think that there's a really good opportunity to open up a specialty shop where we focus on kayak fishing and rigging and outfitting and stuff like that. And I've got my son to help me, and he's a rigging guru himself. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
so we'll be opening up a shop. Um, I'm not going to try to do what I used to do, which is ship kayaks all over the country. I'm going to be like, I'll sell a kayak to anybody, but you got to come get it. And
Right.
we
Right.
might sell accessories online. I still haven't even decided on that yet. But yeah, so there'll be a shop here in Huntsville, Alabama, here in the next probably 4 to 6 months.
That's
And
awesome.
Heck yeah.
I
Well,
plan
when
on being one of the top outfitting shops in the country, because that's kind of going to be our forte, if you will.
right, right. So, well, when you get that, right before you get it up and going, and let us know, and we will put it on our social medias and on all of our platforms and stuff like that. We may even try to have you, if you don't mind, we may have you come on and do like a 5 second, or I mean, not something real short, little advertising with us with on it,
Yeah,
if you don't mind. So
yeah,
it
absolutely.
will
I'd love that.
so
We
but
can maybe even do another podcast down the road where we do a live rigging of a kayak from the shop, where we show,
Oh yeah.
some of the basic things. We'll
yeah,
uh,
because
we'll drill all the holes and stuff, so it's not loud, but kind of prep the boat and then show. All right, here's the tool you use. Here's what we did, and now here's how to install this, and how to do
yeah,
like a little something like that down the road if you guys are interested.
heck
Definitely.
yeah.
That'd be
I
awesome.
I
Yeah.
mean, because you're not that far from us. I mean, it'd be easy for us just to hop in the truck and just head on down your way, and maybe we can actually do it all where we're all
We can just
together.
do it right in the shop. Yeah. Absolutely, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
but we've had you on for over or right at it, well, almost an hour. But
is this not freaking awesome? You know what I'm saying?
that
Look at that.
Oh, that's cool.
I
Golly,
wish
the
we
sun
had
just went
slick
down.
water like that on Chick.
Yeah, it is so it is so freaking gorgeous out here right now, dude. But it's also
Oh,
like
that's
getting cold quick.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I imagine them bare legs with them shorts on are getting a little chilly.
They are, but I got enough insulation to keep the core, temperature squared away.
Right.
You
So
know,
that well and so Chad, I want to say thank you personally because
Yeah.
we were able to talk to you at Red Crest here this last year, and just the information that you shared at Red Crest with me,
Yeah.
and then here just your knowledge is just phenomenal, and just you willing to be able to share uh, really helps out a whole lot of people, even though we're not for say in the kayaks, but I mean it's see you out there paddling around and see you out in that little slick water makes me like, man, I wish I had a kayak to go paddle around.
yeah, man.
So, but well, that being said, we do have 1,100 people watching right now. So, can you tell us like how they can follow you?
Yes, sir. It's pretty much anything at Kayak Bass Fishing or anything at Chad Hoover Fishing. So I think almost most of the socials,
Yeah,
I kind of have both. So Chad Hoover Fishing is more of my like everything fishing. Obviously, Kayak Bass Fishing is more of the specific to kayak fishing stuff. We're about to add in some camping content because I really like to camp and fish. I think they
Right.
go together like peanut butter and jelly. They go
Oh
together
yeah.
like trying to think of something other than Biden and inflation, but that's the first one that pops in my head. But you know what I mean? They it just goes together great. And I'm very blessed here in North Alabama to be in the center of some of the best bass fishing in the country, up to and including where you guys live, because jumping up to Chick, Nickajack, Watts Bar. I mean, dude, I grew up in Louisiana on the Mississippi River, then moved to Georgia and had some really phenomenal fisheries around me. Traveled the world and traveled the country in the Navy for 20 years. But I firmly believe that the Tennessee River Valley, the Tennessee River itself, is one of the most diverse and powerful economic engines and outdoor opportunity producing, waterways in the world. And that's why I moved down here. I freaking love it. And dude, I just wish I had 35 years earlier that I had figured this out to get here. But the way I look at it now is I'm just going to milk it for the rest of my life for what it's worth and share it with my kids and share the adventures with as many, knuckleheads out there as I can that, you know, might come down here and take advantage of it. And we also have got to pass this on to the next generation, not just for
exactly.
passing on the
Yeah.
traditions, but also passing on the stewardship um, torch where they take care of it, because once we stop getting out on it and using it and people stop taking care stop caring about it, and you don't have any stakeholders, then it goes away, because once you stop taking care of it or you stop caring about it, it gets neglected, and once it
Yeah.
gets neglected, and then it'll go downhill real freaking quick.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
it in everything that we do. So I appreciate and really love guys like y'all that take the time to do the podcast. I'll be honest with you, I tried to start a podcast 3 different times, and people have no idea how much work it is to get set up for it. So my hat's off to you guys to
So thank
say
you.
thanks for what y'all
Thank you.
do. You spread the message, you wave the flag. You do have sponsors, you do all of this stuff, but nobody's getting rich podcasting unless you're, an anorexic female or Joe Rogan. Other than that, you're just doing it for the passion, and I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. So, it gives me something to listen to driving down the road on long hours. and I really think that the diversity of guests that you guys bring on is freaking awesome as well, because we have a tendency to get in our little silos of only wanting to talk to and do what the other people who do what we do, and we really need a lot more crossover exposure
Yes.
in
Yep.
the industry as a whole. You know?
Yep.
Exactly.
So
And
yeah,
that's one thing, like with this next year and stuff, we're wanting to talk to people that does like the redfish, go out there and do the red fishing or even some offshore fishing. Um I've been talking to Paul, he's from off of the TV show Wicked Tuna,
oh
and
yeah,
so we're going to get him on to talk about doing some tuna fishing. And
Yep.
so we want, because there's more than just bass fishing or crappie fishing or whatever going. It's more or less like being able. I believe, and why we called it Deck Talk is because we want this to be just like a casual conversation between, like, if you were standing on the boat with us and we're just chit chatting while we're fishing, and
yeah,
and so, and I believe that everybody has some kind of information that they can give that they might not think that it's that important, but it could also help somebody else out to be able to catch a fish.
Yep.
And but to be able to talk to somebody and kind of get their perspective on the reason why they fish the way they fish. I mean, his over the past, we've been doing this for almost 2 years on the podcast, and over that time period, my fishing has changed because I have a different outlook of knowing, like, well, when I was on the phone with Chad, he was saying this, let me try this out. Or when we've had Ike and Ellie on or Shaw Grisby, I mean, let's try what they said. I mean, they're in
yeah.
the position that they're in, and so it never hurts to try. So,
Yep.
but
And I even
we
think one of the blessings I've had is moving around to different regions, and so when I take something from one region that didn't necessarily
exactly.
work in another region. Like I'll give you one quick one. I know we got to go, but I was stationed in Corpus Christi and used to catch redfish a lot, and we would catch them on top waters. Well, everywhere else in the country, people were like, "You can't catch redfish on top water." And when I moved back to Virginia Beach, I was out there fishing for redfish with a top water, and guys would, come up next to me in a boat and be like, "What are you fishing for? Specks?" I'm like, "No, I'm fishing for reds." They're like, "Red's mouth on the bottom. They won't hit a top water," and it never failed. God's finger would kind of stir the pot, and he'd be like, "Boom!" and one would blow up, and I'd be like,
Boom.
"Yeah, well, somebody should tell that redfish that his mouth's on the bottom. He shouldn't be in the top water." And they would be like,
Yeah.
"I'd be damned." But that cross
Yeah.
regional, cross species, cross platform type fishing really does do a lot for expanding your horizons, your outlook, your mindset, your approach. And I think when you exercise this thing, it's the best
Right.
thing you can to become a
Yep.
better angler, better human, better steward, better, you know, role model, better leader, better all that. And I think we've all become damn near brainwashed by these little blue screens that we look at. And so I think that using these platforms like this to talk about the stuff that really is important, like fishing, which is probably the most important thing, right? Um,
Right.
you guys are killing it, man. So I will be available anytime you text or call. And I thank you for the time. And
Yes,
I'm
sir.
about out of light here. And these little chicken legs are getting cold.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
Well, we
well,
are.
we
We.
have one. Hold on. We
Go
have
ahead.
one
Go ahead.
question that we ask every guest that we have come on, and we want to ask it. That's usually our last question, and then we will let you go after that if that's good with you, Chad.
let's hear it.
All
All
right,
right.
Norman.
And again, we appreciate your time, Chad. It was awesome seeing you paddling around and actually putting a fish over the gunwale of your kayak on during the show, Chad. But that was awesome. But if you were to be able to fish with one person, now this person could be passed away or still with us, who would that person be, and why would you want to fish with them for the day?
Who? It would be my grandpa on my dad's side. My papa, which is my mom's dad, really was the one that got me hardcore into hunting, and then my pawpaw, which is my dad's dad, got me hardcore into fishing. And
Wow. That's awesome.
You know, you take for granted the fact that you can fish with those people until you can't. So
Yes.
Yeah.
all the celebrity fishermen in the world and all the world leaders and all that kind of stuff that I think most people would probably pick. Um, yeah, it'd be my it'd be my pawpaw. I wish I could just sit in the back of that boat while he sculled the boat, with a hand paddle fishing for crappie just one more time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome, man. That is
That
awesome.
that is times that you definitely do cherish, and so uh, thank you for answering that. And
Yes, sir.
um, so with that, guys, Chad, I do have a question. If you'll stay on just a second after we get off of here, I got a question for you.
okay, sounds good.
Um, but guys, go check. I put the links to all of Chad's social media on the description and stuff of the video. So if you go click them, the links, it'll pull you right up to Chad and start following him because again, his YouTube channel, even though he is a kayaker and stuff like that, it does transfer from a kayak to a boat. And I've learned so much just watching his stuff that's on YouTube, and I've watched him for I'd say 3 or 4 years, and I've enjoyed watching it. And he gives such details on what he's doing, and it is very good information to be able to take out with you. So go check it out. Go start following and subscribe to his YouTube channel. And guys, thank you again for watching, and hope you have a blessed day. And we'll see you out on the water, guys.
Catch you on the water.